Well, that one stings. The Chiefs fall in Dallas 31-28 on Thanksgiving and now sit 6-6, and watching that game, you couldn't help but feel the weight of every missed opportunity. Right away, the story is simple. The Cowboys made more plays, and the Chiefs shot themselves in the foot too many times. 10 penalties for 119 yards is the kind of stat that turns winnable moments into long third downs, stalled drives, and extended opponent possessions. You can point at the short week, the travel, and the obvious offensive line trouble, missing 3 starters and losing players during the game. But penalties and execution aren't things opponents hand you. They're things you control. That's why this one stings so much. On offense, you saw flashes. Rashee Rice had a very good game with 8 catches for 92 and 2 touchdowns. And Hollywood Brown's toe-tap score was a reminder this offense can still make the spectacular play. But between false starts, a late-game fumble that fortunately went out of bounds, and too many 3-and-outs in the middle quarters, the Chiefs never built consistent momentum. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt plugged some yards when they could, but the line issues and short week fatigue limited what the run game could do to take pressure off Mahomes. On defense, the secondary got exposed. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens ate up space, and coverage breakdowns and missed assignments put the defense on its heels. The pass rush outside Chris Jones couldn't consistently get home, and that forced the staff into heavier blitzing that Dak Prescott handled by getting the ball out quickly and finding open targets. Those failed blitzes and coverage busts combined to make a game that should have been a back-and-forth shootout tilt into a loss. Emotionally, this felt like a season-defining gut punch. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You can't win the games you need to win when you're losing the close ones, and right now the Chiefs are painfully 1-6 in one-score contests. So where does that leave the team? It leaves them with a clear but ugly truth. To keep any realistic playoff hope alive, they need to stop beating themselves. They must clean up penalties, protect their quarterback better, and generate more consistent pressure without gambling the secondary into mismatches. Now, I want to hear from you right away. What single play or coaching decision changed this game in your eyes? Drop that in the comments. Also, take a quick poll in the comments. Was this loss mainly from penalties, injuries, coaching, or execution? And if you're new here, help us hit 6,000 subscribers. Click subscribe and give the video a like so the channel can keep breaking these games down every day. If you strip away the noise, the headlines, and the knee-jerk reactions from national media, the numbers paint a story that's a lot different than what most fans think. Yes, the Chiefs have stumbled. Yes, sitting at 500 after 10 games is something we're simply not used to in the Mahomes era. But when you dig deeper into why, you start seeing the cracks are smaller than they appear, and more importantly, they're fixable. Let's start with the offense. For the first time in years, Kansas City hasn't been sitting near the top of the league in scoring or efficiency. But the biggest swings have come in situations the Chiefs normally dominate, third downs and red zone possessions. Instead of cashing in touchdowns, drives have been stalling inside the 20. Instead of Mahomes converting those, how did he do that, third and longs, the team's been leaving yard and points on the field. These are execution issues, not structural ones. They're problems you can iron out with better timing, cleaner routes, and fewer penalties. And historically, when December hits, this team does iron them out. The defense tells a different story. They're still talented, but the regression against play action has been glaring. Opponents have figured out that manipulating Kansas City's linebackers is the easiest way to generate chunk plays. That's not a personnel crisis. That's a film room correction. Steve Spagnuolo has fixed worse, and he's done it mid-season before. Here's the key takeaway I want you to hold on to. The Chiefs' weaknesses are tactical, not foundational. That matters because tactical problems can flip quickly, and once they do, Kansas City suddenly looks a whole lot like the team the rest of the AFC is trying so hard to pretend they aren't anymore. Let's get into the defense, because that's where this game really slipped away. And honestly, a lot of the issues are fixable if the coaches make the right, clear adjustments. What you saw in Dallas was a secondary repeatedly put in losing positions. Long drives created by penalties and missed tackles, receivers getting too much separation on slants and over-the-middle throws, and a lack of consistent help from the pass rush that left cornerbacks and safeties hanging. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens weren't just having big games because they outplayed the Chiefs one-on-one. They were having big games because the pass rush outside of Chris Jones couldn't consistently affect Dak Prescott's pocket. When your rush is one-dimensional, relying on Chris Jones to win his matchup, offenses will game plan around that. Dallas did exactly that. Quick reads, fast release, and route combos designed to expose the mismatches the Chiefs were giving up. The film shows two clear defensive themes that killed Kansas City. One, coverage busts and mismatches in the slot inside leverage, and two, blitz calls that didn't create pressure but created vulnerability. Blitzing becomes a negative when the quarterback can get the ball out in 1 or 2 seconds, and you've vacated space in the middle of the field. That's where Dak and his targets found yard after yard. The linebackers and slot corners were put into reaction mode instead of playmaking mode, and that's a coaching strategy. Problem as much as it is personnel. Now accountability. Players have to execute, but the scheme has to protect them. Steve Spagnuolo has to ask whether he's getting the best out of the outside rush units, and whether the calls are exposing the secondary to too many one-on-one situations. Immediate fixes for the next game are straightforward. Simplify assignments in the back end so communication errors drop, use more disguised too-high shells to take away the deep third, and rush more with stunts. And controlled pressures, the goal being to create lanes for edge guys without sending 6 every snap. Mix in some matchup-based brackets on the slot threats and rotate fresh corners in earlier so fatigue and missed tackles aren't the default late in games. On the personnel side, get players matched in roles that let their strengths show. If a guy is struggling in press or in-man boundary work, move him to a role where he can run and play the ball. And on the front 7, get creative with game-planned stunts. You don't always need a sack to win. Collapsing lanes and forcing throws into third and long does the job too. The bottom line for you as a fan is this: the defense was exposed but not broken. The problems were mostly schematic and execution-based. Things coaching and preparation can correct quickly. That means there's still reason for cautious optimism. If Spagnuolo tightens down communication, adjusts his pressure packages, and asks the edge rushers to win with technique and coordinated stunts rather than weird heavy blitzing, the defense can stop giving up the chunk plays that turn close games into losses. Drop your vote in the comments. Who needs the biggest change on defense? Cornerback play, pass rush, play calling, or tackling effort? And don't forget to hit subscribe so we can push this channel to 6,000 subscribers and keep breaking down every Chiefs moment. Like this breakdown, we'll keep it honest, sharp, and daily. All right, reality check. Time. You're looking at a 6-6 team with a brutal loss on Thanksgiving and a stretch where close games have not gone Kansas City's way. The math is simple. To have a realistic shot at the playoffs from here, you need to stop losing the games you should win and string together wins, starting with the very next game. Practically speaking, that means win out and get as much help as possible from other teams. You don't control the Chargers, Jaguars, or Texans, so the only thing you can control is taking care of business when your name's on the schedule. But beyond the win-every-game mantra, there are concrete, immediate tasks that the Chiefs must do to even make that path plausible. First, clean up penalties. 10 for 119 yards in Dallas is the kind of self-inflicted damage that turns manageable drives into impossible ones. And that mistake margin doesn't shrink in the playoffs. Second, protect Mahomes. The O-line injuries are real, and they change play call tendencies. The staff needs to scheme more quick-game, rhythm-based plays and get creative with motion, max protect calls on third downs, and screen game balance so Mahomes isn't forced into reckless throws or pressure-driven mistakes. Third, stabilize the defense. That means simpler coverage assignments to reduce communication errors, smarter use of controlled pressures and stunts rather than heavy blitzing, and matchup-focused adjustments on dangerous receivers. If the coaching staff can tighten those fundamentals, this team doesn't need a full rebuild to be competitive. It needs better situational football. Now let's be honest about the offseason. If the Chiefs can't fix these things in December, then the real work starts in January. That could mean targeted free agent additions for edge rush or a depth CB, tweaks to the coaching staff to inject fresh ideas, and a deeper evaluation of how the offense operates on quick-to-develop windows. But don't jump straight to roster panic. Some of the most successful mid-season flips are schematic and discipline-based. For you as a fan, the next 2 to 3 games are everything emotionally and practically. They'll tell you whether this team has the fight to win out or whether the front office needs to start planning major changes. Interactive poll for you. Do you think the Chiefs can win out and make the playoffs? Vote in the comments, win out or no. Also drop your one-line plan. What's the single most important change? Penalties, protection, pass rush, or coaching? Before I go, one quick ask. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe so we can reach 6,000 subscribers, smash the like button, and drop your full take below.